Welcome to 3D Modeling and Animation. I'm your instructor, Professor Platz. You can call me Chris. And we're going to take a little tour through the first few weeks of the class, which involves downloading Maya, getting your educational license, playing around with some free web or browser-based digital sculpting software. And we're also going to go into the Unreal Engine and see what your creations look like with real time. Here's the Unreal launcher. You can also use Blender in this class. However, the main curriculum will be entirely with Maya on the 3D side in terms of the 3D modeling. And we're going to make a character rather quickly. We're going to run into Mixamo here and make a biped, load it into Mixamo, and using really simple abstract anatomy. So we're going to make just a little Pez head or kind of Minecraft cubist style character that's easy to unwrap, so you get the full force of that. And you know how to set up Maya correctly, how to make sure that your characters are measured correctly, facing the right direction, have really excellent edge loop flow topology, which if you learn from the beginning will keep you from having unnecessary edge loops running all throughout the character. And so let's go ahead and get started. First thing you'll do is make sure you set up your Maya project folder correctly. So mine's already set up, but let's just go through the basics on this. So when you open up Maya, you want to do a file, set project, and create a new folder in which to create your directory and save your files to. It also includes your backup files. So you'll see this one I already have something saved, but let's just hop over to my desktop here and right click, create a new folder, and just I'm going to put test for this one. Make sure I delete this thing later. I have a lot of tests on my computer. Set that, and you'll want to create a default workspace. So the default workspace will then create a script inside that folder. So when I go to the project window, it's going to go to that test folder automatically with the location on my desktop. And it's going to create these folders. So you'll see scenes, assets, images, source images, etc. Autosave. The main ones you'll use are the source images, the scenes, and the autosave. So go ahead and accept that. And then double check it after you do that. So go to File, Save Scene As, and it should go to that directory. If not, usually go one more time. File, Set Project, say yes, please go ahead and use the test folder I just told you to a moment ago. Set that one. Then go File, Save As again, a second time. And now you'll see it is indeed inside that test scenes folder. That bug's been there for better 15 years, I'd say. So go ahead and save your name into the scenes. Make sure you save that path, write it down, know where your files are. Even if you're a veteran, it's easy to get lost in your file directories. So whether you're a beginner or you've been using these apps for quite a while, have a nice clean folder structure started so that way you'll be able to find your files easily and keep up with the pace. So let's take a brief tour of Maya. You've been given the quick start videos to watch from Flip Normals, which is terrific. You also have videos from Autodesk, but I'm just going to recap the main portions you need to know in here. So it's really a Alt with your offhand and then middle mouse button to pan, middle mouse scroll to zoom in and out, Alt and right mouse button to do a slow dolly pan, and I'm going up, down, or left to right. Usually works in that sense. And then Alt and left mouse button lets you arc rotate around. If you get off center, I'm using the Alt middle mouse to pan left to right. If you get lost in space like that and you don't know where things are, hit the F key to center frame your scene, whatever happens to be in that scene. Most of these pull downs are standard. So your file, new, Control N, Control O, Control S. These are things that every digital professional should be familiar with in terms of software usability. So your scene, Control Shift S to save a scene as a new file. Your Control Z, Control Y, your cut and paste. And so these two first pull downs are something that you should be very familiar with, being a digital generation. So if I go in here and go File, Save Scene As, it should, as I said, default to my project folder, which says Scene. So this is my project folder for this class, Intro to 3D Modeling and Animation using Maya. Here's the Scenes folder, so be sure to keep everything in there. And for this one, we'll just go Lecture 01, name it underscores. No special characters, underscores usually safe. Don't put an ampersand or hashtag or forward or backwards. Just keep the names simple, underscores, and I use a sequence there. So I'll save that one. And you're just going to give me a student version. The next thing to do will be to go to the edit or the, let's see, make that the window, settings preferences, window, settings preferences, and open that up. And of course, that's always going to be on my other monitor, it seems like. And if you check your settings under files and projects, be sure to have your autosave enabled. So autosave will save up to whatever maximum number you put it on there. So I limit the autosaves, otherwise you might clog your hard drive. If you don't check it and it's autosaving and you're working on something throughout the semester, it could ruin what you're doing. So I don't want it to prompt me every time it autosaves. I want it to just do it. And so typically for me, intervals of 15 minutes. So that means it's going to do 4 saves per hour. I'm usually okay losing about 15 minutes worth of work in case it crashes. Maya will crash on you. All these software packages will crash on you at some point in time. Just be zen with it. It happens. So if I'm doing 4 saves per hour, maximum of 20, that's 5 hours worth of work. If that's something you want to increase, I would say you could go up to say 30 and maybe just do a save every 30 minutes. That's pretty safe. That means it's going to keep you safe for 15 hours every 30 minutes. So you do the math, decide what works best for you, and just be prepared for crashes. It's just going to happen. It's not the end of the world. Go ahead and hit save on that. So now I can look into the project file and I'll see that there's autosaves in there. Let's go through some of the main menus up here. So right now I'm in rendering on accident. It should be in modeling. So the modes you're in is really important. For this class, we're primarily going to be in modeling. The first part, we'll then get into rigging and animation and rendering. The other core icons for this software are up here on the left-hand side. So you have right here the modeling toolkit. If you hover over the top of it, it will give you a little descriptor. The next one here is the character controls for creating a biped. The next one here is your attribute editor, which is going to give you the attributes of whatever object you're working on. So I have different characters in here that are currently hidden that I'll go through. Then, or here you have the tool settings, and then you have the channel layer box. So each of these icons are really important. Don't get into the biped just yet for the rigging, but you will do the modeling toolkit. You will want to know the attributes of the object you're working on. You'll want to change your tool settings, and you'll want to have a channel box with layers provided in there. I'll click off of that. So what I'm going to do first here is I'm going to, and I have the tabs here. So the layout here, here's your standard workspace layout. I have mine in modeling standard. If you ever get yours messed up, you could just go back and pull back up modeling standard. It's usually a pretty good place to start. And what I'm going to do here is look at the viewport, and down here are the arrows. So you'll see the Z is the depth going into the screen. So the Z depth for Maya is Z back into the screen like an animator would look at it. If you're in Unreal Engine or other world building, it's more like an architect. You look down on the scene as Z is up and down, but Y is up and down. In Maya, you see the little arrows down there. And you see here's the back and here's the front. So that helps you, lets you know that that Z arrow is coming forward and backwards. So be sure you know which direction. You can always fix things, but it happens to everybody. You end up working on something and it's sideways or backwards. And so it's good to know where that is initially. So I'm just using Alt middle mouse and Alt and left mouse button to pan and to rotate around here. So let's go to the Create palette. And almost everything you can think of can be created here using polygon primitives. So here are the polygon primitives you should be familiar with. Abstract modeling is incredibly important. Abstract art is incredibly important. If the abstract form that you're working on doesn't look good, the detailed form probably isn't going to look much better. So you have spheres, cubes, cylinders, cones, And the plane, the torus, not the disc, aren't particularly useful. For most things, the pipe can be useful in pyramids. You have platonic solids, gears, soccer ball. So these are shapes. Anytime you see the box next to it that has a settings box that you can create. So let's go ahead and make a character. We're going to make a character, rig it, and animate it in just under an hour to show you what is possible here. So whichever of these tools, there's so many ways to get through them. So they're also available here. Under the poly modeling menu, you'll see there's the sphere, cube, cylinder right there. Same thing as you saw right here in create. There's other menus, so we're just going to kind of fudge through all the different methods you could do this. And let's go to the create palette. So if you hit the create, it's going to automatically create at the center of the world whatever the settings were for that tool that you're using. Let me delete that. What I like to do is go to create, polygon primitives, and I immediately turn on interactive creation, which lets me click and drag and create at a place on the grid of my choosing, and it also lets me do it interactive, like how wide I want that cylinder to be. I let go and then click and pull up how high or tall or short I want that object to be. And usually it's I learned 3D Studio Max first, so that's why. Now, if you're creating different objects, there's going to be a tool settings for you. So if I click on this button right here for a cylinder, you'll see it has a radius of 16, height of 160, and 89 axis divisions going around, and height divisions of 3. 1, 2, and then 3 is considered. And then the cap division of 1, which means there's no cap divisions. If I were to go in here and change that, and let's change this from 89. 8 is going to be your magic number for your cylinders in this class. And actually, this cap division script 2. And then click and drag across, let go, and then click and drag up. And there we go. And you'll see now that is an 8-sided cylinder going around the axis divisions. It's got a height divisions of 3, which is 1, 2, and then the third one, or 3 divisions between the faces, and then a cap division of 2. So this is pretty helpful. What you're going to do for your biped, for your limbs, is you're going to go 8, 4, 2. So what I could do here is click, drag across and up, and you'll see this would be a typical leg or an arm. So you'll want, this is called an edge loop, or the edge. If I right click, I can go to component mode. So vertex, edge, faces. If I go to edge, now I can see I can click an edge individually. And as I'm looking at this, I can use the QWERTY keys, Q, W, E, R, T. Q is to select. E is to move or translate. Sorry, I hope I said that right. Yeah, Q is to select. W is to move, translate. E is to rotate, and R is to sail. The QWERTY keys are pretty standard in almost all 3D software packages. And you'll also see here I have the tool settings here. So if your tool settings are not showing up, what I'll do is I'll take this tool settings, and you can break it off if there's a tab. I'll close that, and then I'll pull it back open and go, oh, look, I have my floating tool settings. I like to keep mine right over here. You'll see if you click and drag it a certain position in there, I want to put it next to my outliner. My outliner lists everything that I have in the scene. The tool settings lets me interactively manipulate these different settings here. So go ahead and create your project, open up a new scene, make a few objects, and we want to have the first object you want to create would be a cylinder. So if I go create, polygon primitives, interactive creation is on, and what I'll do is I'll click on the cylinder, and I want to make a cylinder that is the size of a person. So what I can do here is I can say I want it to be 160 centimeters. That's the average human height globally. And radius of 16, height 8, axis of division 8, height 4, and cap divisions 2. And if I did want to go to polygon primitives and turn off interactive creation and just click one time, you'll see that it creates the cylinder for me. This is what's called your human reference. So if I go to my outliner, click on this twice, I could say human underscore reference underscore 160 centimeters. So we know what that is. Now this will help you if you wanted to make your character really short or tiny, like a little goblin or gnome or something. If you want to make like a big ogre or creature, alien, or something like that. But the main thing we do for this first character is to make it bipedal. Okay, so let's look at the next step in actually creating the character.